Hello. Good afternoon, evening, and good night, friends, lovers, enemies of Goodreads.com. So today, this is a rant review. Okay, I know last time did not go over so well. I continue to receive hate on my review of The Goldfinch, which I stand by. That book, gonna leave it at that. We're not talking about that book today. Today, we're talking about History is All You Left Me by Adam Silvera. So, if you have, you know what? No, I'm just going to put the little I here because I did do a review of Adam's other book. They both die in the end. Okay? It's the same book, but that one's better. This one's trash. So let me tell you sort of like what it is. Okay? You start off, you know, the love interest of the main character is dead, but the main character is alive, and it goes back and forth between the past when the love interest was alive and the present when the love interest is dead and they're doing the funeral and blah blah blah. It's nonsense. So it's, you know, a sort of back and forth perspective kind of thing, but it's not two people, it's one person. I would say the only realistic thing in this story is that the main character and all of his friends are gay. That is really realistic. I don't know any gay people who hang out with straight people. Sorry, but you guys are just annoying. And we figured that out. So we just backed off. Part of the main sort of like point of the book is about OCD. Like that's the main character's internal struggle, whereas like his external struggles are basically romantic and like a little bit grief, but I guess that's also kind of internal. Anyways, every single character, pretty much every single one, except for the love interest's boyfriend at the time of his death, is unlikable. I think this was not on purpose. So let me just that's it. That's what's going on. That is the synopsis as best as I can give it. I give this book a 2 out of 5 stars. Pretty much I don't ever give any books 1 out of 5 stars. If it's that bad, I'm not going to finish it. Unless it's like a really short book of poetry. So this book. So I cannot speak to what it is like to live with OCD. I do not know if this is own voices or if this was Adam Silvera trying to get some points with disabled people. However, I am an alive person who I nannied for a child who was on the autism spectrum to the end of what I would say is like moderately low functioning. Cannot speak to how he is now. This was when I was in high school, but I nannied for him for 4 years. And I have interacted with many adults on the spectrum. You know, the reason I bring up the autism spectrum has to do with sort of the conversations between the characters. It reads unintentionally like the way that a lot of people on the autism spectrum communicate, which is only bad because it lacked the intention, which means it is sloppy writing. I'm supposed to be sort of like sympathetic to the main character. I find him to be incredibly toxic. He uses all of his friends he uses all of them for sex, which is whack. He also never asks them like how they are or like takes care of them in any like emotional or physical way. He's like constantly like making everything a big deal and about himself, and other characters call him out on his like selfishness and toxicity, and he does nothing. Never does anything about it. Problematic. It's like so hard to sort of like explain without like giving a real example. So let me read a very short conversation from this book so that you can kind of like get a sense of what I'm trying to say. So the boyfriend of the dead love interest, his name is Jackson, and the main character's name is Griffin. Jackson gets invited to stay with Griffin and his family in New York because the main character needs to use him for emotional support, and eventually sex. Let me sort of like put you in this scene. They are at dinner, for they're at dinner for Jackson's birthday with Jackson's friends who moved from where he lives to New York for college. And he apparently, like, stopped talking to his friends when he started dating the dead character. And there's sort of, like, conflict with that because his friends are like, you were a shitty asshole and didn't actually talk to us. And he's like, you guys didn't want to get to know my boyfriend. It does appear to me that it is men being bad, but in literary format. Yeah. So this is really bad writing. And Adam decides, let's just sprinkle this in for no real reason, that this one female character had an abortion. And that's why she's mad. Huh? I'm sorry. Excuse me? So let me read this to you because this is not how human beings talk, nor is it how anybody has ever talked about having an abortion or about like an aborted baby, aborted fetus. Veronica's face twists in a way I would have never assumed possible from all the deliriously happy photos I saw of her online. Did my Facebook status mention I broke up with the latest love of my life because of the abortion I had to have? Did my Facebook status tell you all about how I wasn't ready to be a mom and he wasn't ready to be a dad and how we agreed this was a bad time, that we could go to the clinic together and he would hold my hand through this? Did my Facebook status tell you he didn't show up and hasn't responded to any of my texts? My texts certainly weren't very nice, but the campus psychologist I've been seeing to deal with my guilt seems to think that they were fair. She like gets up, blah, blah, blah. Who fucking cares? I didn't wish you any ill, she says, leaning over the table. I know you must have been hurting in ways I don't know, but even when Thea was still alive, I lost a part of myself and lost a little person who was growing inside me and was going to look like me. You'll never get to be Uncle Jackson. I'll never get to be this kid's mom. Next time you see my relationship status change on Facebook, maybe check in and ask me if I'm okay. Before either of us can say a word, Veronica whirls and runs out into the night. There's silence, a blast of wintry air. The door closes behind her. Jackson is crying, and damn, I'm almost there with him. This is proof that all millennials deserve jail. When has anyone ever referred to their aborted fetus as a little person growing inside of them? It gives me the same cringe levels as when millennials say doggo. And also, it's clearly written from a man's perspective. I have never once heard a woman or any person who's been pregnant refer to their baby or their fetus like that. That is clearly bad. It's bad. It's just not how people speak. And also, like, the main character has such a hard time processing emotions. Why would this girl yelling at his friend make him cry? It's just so unrealistic. And it's really sort of that sort of, huh? How many times can I say sort of in a sentence? Take a shot. It's a lot of this sort of, it's a lot of this inability to communicate in a way that actually reflects human emotions, human responses to things that other people say or do. It's a lot of this offness. And the characters all seem to have like this hyperfixation on like weirdly specific things in terms of like zombies, pirates, Star Wars, Harry Potter, in a way that reads as socially delayed as opposed to being age appropriate. Which, like, I mean, I don't know. No, I do have perspective because the only friends I had that were guys in high school were either abusive to me or they were gay. And none of my gay friends, or myself as a gay friend, talked like that. Yes, I had a hyperfixation on Harry Potter. I was being abused, so let's not throw shade at my coping mechanisms. This, in these characters, is all like just like natural interest. It comes off really weird. That's kind of what I can say about it. I feel like I said this at the beginning of the video, but what is meant to come across as like teenagers having things in common with each other and also a character having OCD comes off as 4 boys on the autism spectrum who are all also gay and have bad coping skills. It just feels like half of the attributes and half of the... Yeah, it feels like half of the attributes to these characters are afterthoughts. This came out in 2017, and the other one that he wrote is, I don't know, it was like either 2018 or 2019. It was like very closely released to each other, but you can just tell that this book was written by someone who doesn't have that much experience. And the editors were like, get it out to market, we need to make money. Whereas They Both Die in the End was very much like everything was closely laced and connected and a very well thought out story and strongly developed characters. It is the superior book to this one, if you want my opinion. Which you have been in this video this long, you probably do. So, yeah, I'm gonna recommend not reading this one and reading They Both Die in the End if you're curious about Adam Silvera. I haven't read anything else by him, so I can't vouch for any of his other books, but this was a huge disappointment considering how much I loved the other book. That's all I have to say. A very annoying, very frustrating to me, and I don't know when the next time is that I'm going to read a queer book to do another queer book review video. I know I'm not doing them on a monthly schedule anymore. I just couldn't, I don't know. I'm an Aquarius, so I don't like plans or schedules. I don't like them. Thanks so much for watching. Like, subscribe, follow me on all social media. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Mamma mia, here I go again.